There are many moments when Lou Reed's soul still rushes through me like a warm wind on a motionless day. It might be a certain chord I hear, a word spoken with his distinct New York accent, or even just a glancing memory of the way he smiled when he was happy, followed by a restrained cackle which assured all was right in Reed's world. Other times I hear him silently speaking to me, his words of advice echoing through the 25 years we were friends. His spirit is there, undiminished with a worldly, peaceful wisdom he had never quit seeking. He had lived long enough and worked hard enough to have earned that peace, and to be next to it felt like I had entered a secret spot in the cosmos. It's hard to describe, but I know it will never leave me. I will always recall those days and nights of being by his side, whether we were walking the New York streets, laughing about the absurdities of human beings, or listening to music. He had an exciting eye and ear for what was roiling all around him. It was in his blood and made life sing for him. One of my most vivid memories is driving away from the Ed Sullivan Theater after Reed had taped a song for that night's Late Show with David Letterman. He was sitting in the back seat of a town car as he looked west towards the Hudson River. The sun was glowing with its last rays of the day, turning the brownstones on the street a shimmering golden hue. The fall air was brisk, something you could almost reach out and touch. Lou, leaning back in his black leather seat, said to himself in a soft voice what felt like a prayer. God, I love this city. It might have been a cliche coming out of another mouth, but not Lou's. For a moment, I could barely breathe, feeling a physical gratitude to have shared something so powerful with a man I'd loved for so many years. All I could say was amen. And once again, the chorus of heroin keeps coursing through me. Those 7 words, I guess that I just don't know, they were Reed's blueprint for life, the mantra that encouraged him to explore what it actually means to be alive. Because Lou Reed never looked away, never stopped trying to find the next step to take him forward, never quit rejoicing at the indefinable experience of when worlds collide and the unexpected occurs. For him, his time here was forever a surprise, and it lit up everything around him when the words and the chords and the sunrises and the sunsets would merge into a feeling of reverence for all he had been allowed to see. In that moment, Lou knew. Hi, I'm Bill Bentley. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I was born in 1950. I jumped into rock and roll in 56, seeing Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan Show. I knew exactly then where I was going in life. Unfortunately, it made me care about very little else. So I just started off on the musical trail. When I got in my teens, I went deep, deep, deep into live music in Houston and R&B and blues and things like that. And then I found a psychedelic band in 1966 named the 13th Floor Elevators. And that not only made me go all the way into rock and roll, it made me believe there is a cosmic part to life that needs to be explored. So I just went off on that trip for a while and ended up in Austin. And by the end of the 70s, I kind of figured like time to leave Texas. I could just feel it in my blood. And I just happened to get a job at a newspaper in L.A. that had just begun called the L.A. Weekly. So on the L.A. Weekly, I got out here in 1980, and this city was on fire with rock and roll. There were like 40 clubs, great bands, everybody from the Blasters to X to the Plimsolls, just on and on every night. And it was just like I'd won the lottery again by being in a city that had incredible live music. And once I sort of like went to the end of that string, I got offered a gig as a publicist at Slash Records, which is one of the great new labels in town. Did a couple of years there, and then Warner Brothers bought a piece of Slash. And somehow I just, again, rolled the right dice and got a job at Warner Brothers. But in that time, in 1988, Warner Sire Records signed Lou Reed. And for some reason, nobody in the New York office wanted to work with Lou because he was very, he's very particular. and they knew I was a fan, the guy that ran the department. So he said, you go to New York and you work with this guy. Just, you do your thing with Lou and just don't bother us because we don't get along with him. So I fly to New York. I wrote Lou a letter saying how much I loved the album that was just putting out, New York, which was the first record he made for Warner Brothers. And I wrote in the letter, that I'd been friends with Sterling and we played in a band together. So I get to New York, I go to the studio where I'm going to do an interview with Lou. We're going to tape and give away to radio stations. I walk in the studio and he looks at me and goes, come with me, like the principal. I go like, oh man, what did I do? He didn't even say hello. He didn't say hello. So he takes me back into a little room and he gives you the Lou stare like, let's get something straight. Sterling remembers everything about the Velvets. I remember nothing. Do you understand? And I thought like, absolutely. Which was, don't talk about the Velvet Underground. He didn't want to go there. He'd done it. He didn't want to go there. And I think over the process of the next few months, he did open up about it, but he wanted me to make sure I wasn't a Velvet head in there to get the real story. And I respected that. I just went like, okay, Lou, it's New York, the album. Let's go. Let's do everything we can for it. And he was so appreciative because, a lot of people did not get along with Lou Reed. He's a tough cookie. He's, a tough date, as we used to say. And, unless you really respected what he'd done, and a lot of people didn't know anything about the Velvets. It's not their fault. They weren't big. They didn't care. They didn't care about what Lou Reed had done or what he's doing now. They just wrote him off because he wasn't that polite sometimes. So I had him kind of all to myself at Warner Brothers. I was a publicist, so I'd fly constantly from L.A. to New York to be with him to do these things. And it just got to be this magical friendship with like 1 year. And then when New York exploded as a great album, he was so happy to be wanted again. So, my love for Lou just deepened and deepened. And so fast forward to when he passes, I just went like, I've got to, after a few months, I said, I got to do something. I got to do something. It's just really to honor him, just to be involved in his music and remember how much he meant to me. And that's when this record came up and we started making it. When I make tribute records, obviously I love the original songs beyond, because why do a bad song? So I have these people who write these songs that just define my life. But then when you make the new version, you hope and pray, because you don't get to tell people what you want them to do. I would never do that to an artist. But you try to pick people that have the imagination to take a wonderful piece of music and then hopefully make it, for the most part, their own. Like nothing is better than when you hear a song that you already know in another incarnation, but you go, my goodness, what is that? And once in a while that happens, and I think this is my 5th tribute record, and I feel like almost on every one of every song, it's different enough to where the songs, it's like giving somebody a new life. So, well, you've lived this life like this. Let's go ahead and make a new life for you. And that's the new version of the song. And when I pick people, I try to pick ones who have the imagination to do that. Let's take, for instance, the first song on this record, I'm Waiting for the Man by Keith Richards.
I'm waiting for my man.
Keith Richards was a real long shot in that I hadn't really thought of him as being in Lou Reed's orbit. But at the last minute, I had an open slot on the record, and I thought, who could I possibly get that might just, knock it out of the park, like really surprise people? And I thought of Keith Richards, and I texted his manager. She got right back to me, said she'd asked Keith, and turns out Keith liked the Velvet Underground. So it was almost like he was waiting for somebody to ask him to do I'm Waiting for the Man. And he knew it already, and he loved doing it. He did it in a day. The way he wove the guitars and had Steve Jordan on drums and Ivan Neville on keyboards, it made the sound Keith's own. It's like he wrote it.
I'm waiting for my man. $26 in my hand. Up to Lexington 125. 5th, 2nd, dirty, more dead than alive. I'm waiting for my man.
I Can't Stand It, of course, was the first song on Lou's first solo record. So in a way, I kind of wanted to start the record with something from his early career. When I started the album, I said no Velvet songs. Yeah, I just felt like that's been done. There's like 5 tribute records to the Velvets. But a little anecdote, I'd asked a pretty major artist to do a song, and he said yes. And he said, and one of the songs he picked was a Velvet Underground song. And being a dumb Texan, I said, can you do a different song? He never called me back after that conversation. And so I lost him. And I thought like, well, if that comes up again, maybe once, I'm not going to say that again. So when Keith Richards picks I'm Waiting for the Man, I go like, mouth shut. Go ahead, man. Do what you want. But I really wanted to start it with something from the first record, because the first Lou Reed solo record got really slagged. You know, it just wasn't seen as a good record. Lou used to always say it was mastered wrong or some crazy thing. But I always thought there were some good songs on there. So I asked this guy, a friend of mine named Maxim Ludwig, if he wanted to do a Lou song, just because he wasn't doing much. And, you know, he was a really good friend. I thought like, well, let's get him doing something. Didn't really have a name, but I thought like friendship is friendship. And then he picked that song. I said, yeah, that's great. And then in the meantime, he started dating Angel Olsen, and they became a duo. And he said, Bill, is it okay if Angel Olsen sings on the song? I said, yeah, I think that'll be okay. And that's how that song turned out. I was going to have Maxim on just as himself. And I think it was the spirit of Lou just going like, you know, Billy B, you need something special on this song. You need somebody with a name. And they did it. And just, it's an amazing track that they did, I think. Real rock and roll and real hardcore. The guitar player, John Shanks, is the lead guitar player. He also produced the track. You know, it's played with everybody. When I got the recording, I went like, man, they really did it.
It's hard being a man, living in a garbage pail. My landlady called me up. Try to hit me with a mop. I can't stand it anymore, more. I can't stand it anymore, more. I can't stand it anymore, more. But if Candy would just come back, it would be alright. And if Candy would just come back, it would be alright.
Rufus Wainwright has always been one of my favorite singers. He's one of the coolest guys. I was at a Neil Young thing once. They were giving Neil a present for being a liberal, People for the American Way. And Rufus Wainwright got up on the piano to sing a song. It was the greatest intro to a song I've ever heard, which made me just love him to death. He said to the crowd, big crowd, you know, he said, I never really liked Neil Young until I fell in love with a gay man and heard The Needle and the Damage Done. And I thought, like, this guy's got guts. To say that in front of Neil Young, I thought, like, this guy is a contender. And then I started buying his records, and I went to see him. I just thought he was one of the great singer-songwriters of our time. And Perfect Day is the perfect song. When I started thinking of this record, I said, Rufus Wainwright has to do that song. And he did it. What was so cool about how he did it, it's an acoustic guitar doing the backing. It's not even his piano. And I thought, like, see, now there's a great artist who doesn't do what everybody thinks he's going to do. And it's so mesmerizing. It's so beautiful. And yeah.
Just a perfect day. Drink sangria in the park. And then later when it gets dark, we go home. Just a perfect day. Feed animals in the zoo. then later a movie too, and then home. Oh, it's such a perfect day, glad I spent it with you. Oh, it's such a perfect day, you just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on.
Joan Jett has always been a favorite of mine. She's sort of a street rocker. You know, she's not real fancy, but she is just badass. I got to see the Runaways at the start of their career, and I thought, like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. She doesn't back down from anything. And I figured, you know, New York, she probably knew Lou, which she kind of did, and had been around him. So I just called her manager. I used to do press for her at Warner Brothers, and he got back to me, and she recorded 2 songs. She recorded that, and she also recorded Vicious. And both of them are great. And she told me, she said, Bill, you pick the one to use. And I thought, you know, Vicious is a very famous song. And I always felt the key to tribute records, for me at least, is not to do the obvious songs sometimes. So I'm So Free, you know, I was a big Transformer album fan. I didn't remember that song on it. And then when I heard her version of it, so the people are going to think this is like a hidden Lou song, instead of a song they've heard a million times. So I thought, like, let's go with it. When I told her that song was going to be on it, she said, oh, I'm so glad you picked that one.
Yes, I am Mother Nature's son, and I'm the only one. I do what I want and I want what I see. Could only happen to me. I'm so free. I'm so
This is the spaceship from another planet that came onto this record. You know, Lou and I spent a lot of our time talking and listening to black music. You know, he kind of like formed with doo-wops when he was a kid, loving the doo-wop bands of New York City. He loves soul music. In fact, there was a song by Eddie and Ernie that I heard about from Sterling. And he said Lou used to love that song so much that one night in their apartment, it's The Velvet Started, he grabbed it off the turntable and took a bite out of it.
Started dancing on the floor, but she said she can't do it no more. She walking down the street to the marketplace, eating nasty food in my place. Sally can't dance no more, y'all. She can't get up off the floor. Sally can't dance no more, y'all. Oh, Sally, she can't dance no more.
I've always been a Bobby Rush fan. You know, he's 90 years old. He's a great bluesman, Mississippi. And I called his manager, and he asked Bobby, and Bobby said, yeah, I'll do that. And he did it the next day in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's just so funky, and some of the words are changed because I think, you know, he had a problem with a few words, and when I heard it, go like, you know, he made it his own. Go ahead. You know, Lou's all about doing your thing. He did not like rules, and I think Lou would have started laughing at how much he loved that song.
Sally can't dance no more. Sally can't dance no more. Sally can't dance no more, y'all. She can't get up off the floor.
I hadn't planned on putting Walk on the Wild Side because I thought there were 3 songs that no one should ever cover: Heroin, Walk on the Wild Side, and Street Hassle. I just didn't think they were coverable. But because the Walk on the Wild Side, the bass line, and just the whole thing is so iconic. But when I talked to Rickie about being on the record, she said, yeah, maybe. What can I do? I said, well, what song do you want to do? And she said, let me think about it. And she called me back the next day and said, Walk on the Wild Side. Having learned a lesson, I didn't say no. I said, she's a very imaginative artist. And she did it. And when I first heard it, I went like, that is truly different. Because, with a percussionist and just her, it's not that she made it her own, but she opened it up to a way of thinking about it beyond what Lou did.
Holly came from Miami, FLA. Hitchhiked her way across the USA. She plucked her eyebrows on the way, shaved her legs, and then he was a she. Yes. And she said, hey, babe, walk on the wild side. Hey, honey, take a walk on the wild side. Hey, baby, take a walk on the wild side. Hey, honey. Little Joe never once gave it away. Everybody had to pay. A hustle here, a hustle there. That New York City is the place where we say, hey, babe, come on, walk on the wild side. I say, hey, sugar, take a walk on the wild side.
Now, if you don't mind me, my son recorded a song that's only on the CD because there's not enough room on the vinyl. Vinyl's limited. So he did The Power and the Glory, which is the last song Lou wrote. His name is Brogan Bentley.
You and me, we always sweat and strain. You look for sun and I look for rain. We're different people, we're not the same. The power of the sun. I look for treetops, you look for caps. Above the water where the waves.
Afghan Whigs doing I Love You Suzanne, which was one of Lou's later hits, sort of hits. Lou didn't have like hits all the time, but I always thought it was, very commercial song, very cool song, crazy video. And Afghan Whigs, I knew that they would do a great version of I Love You Suzanne. So he went and did it. And when I heard it, I just thought like, wow, that is really what this tribute record's all about. Great songs, but done your way. It's very different than the way Lou Reed did it. It's almost like a new song. And I realized the other day, like that's why we do this, to sort of like give songs a new life.
But I love you, Suzanne. I love it when you're good. I love you when you're bad.
Coney Island Baby by Mary Gauthier is probably the most left field surprise that I even came up with. I've always loved her records. She's so emotional. And when I thought of Lou, I thought, I've got to get Coney Island Baby done by somebody. Because I think that's one of, it's not that well known, but I really think it's one of the great achievements of Lou's life. Because when you listen to that song, believe it or not, that's Lou Reed. That's the way he thought. That's the way he probably grew up on Long Island. You know, he wasn't a big guy, but I know he wanted to play football for the coach.
You know, man, when I was a young man in high school, you believe it or not, I wanted to play football for the coach. And all the older guys, they said he was mean and cruel. But you know, I wanted to play football for the coach.
So I called Mary up and she went like, ooh, because I asked her to do this song. She goes, you know, that song is such a like conversation between the guitar player and Lou that without that guitar player, it wouldn't make sense. So she said, I don't think I can do it because the guitar player was dead. We were going to try to get the original guitar player. And about a month later, she called me back. She said, Bill, I found the guitar player who can play that guitar for that song. And she went and did it. And when she sent it to me, you know, I'm always a little nervous because what if it's not good? But I put it on. I burst into tears and I thought, God, not only did she do it, she took it to almost a more raw place than Lou did. You know, you could feel the pain in her life growing up. You know, a woman here saying, I want to play football for the coach. You know, and the things she probably went through in her life. You know, if nothing else, this album was worth doing to let her do that song and show people the real heart of that song. I just every time I listen to it, I can't believe it.
Glory of love, yeah. The glory of love. Glory of love. Glory of love. Glory of love now. Glory of love now. Glory of love now, now, now. Glory of love. Glory of love, give it to me now. Glory of love will see you through, huh? I'm a Coney Island baby now. I'm a Coney Island baby. I'd like to send this one out to Lou and Rachel and all the kids at PS 192. Man, I swear I'd give the whole thing up for you.
This is a really interesting. I love Lucinda Williams. You know, I knew her in Austin in the mid '70s when she was first getting started, and she was on the Rocky Erickson tribute record. Because she's a friend, but you know, I've just always completely admired her from when she was singing on the street in Austin, and then you know her gradual march to being who she is now, Lucinda Williams, who most people know about. She writes great, great songs, incredible singer. And so I called her and I said, do you want to do a Lou Reed song? And she's like, yeah, I guess I will, you know. And it turns out Legendary Hearts, she told me a story I didn't know about till the record was finished. She was going to do a whole live show of rock songs and she would have special guests. And she asked Lou Reed to come to that show and sing Legendary Hearts with her, which he said he would do, but then something came up, you know, and he didn't make it. So she said, yeah, I was going to sing that live with Lou, but we never did. So it was natural for her to do Legendary Hearts. And it's just like a pounder, man. She just goes through it. And she's one of those artists that the emotions she expresses are unavoidable. They just get you in the heart because she's all heart. You know, she doesn't think about stuff as much as she just feels it and says it and sings it. And she got inside the song, and I'm so glad she did it because we weren't sure. It was one of the last songs we recorded, and she just, I just feel there's nobody like her, and she knew Lou, so there you go.
Legendary hearts tearing us apart with stories of their love, their great transcendent loves, while we stand here and fight and lose another night of legendary love. Legendary loves haunt me in my sleep, promises to keep I never should have made. I can't live up to this. I'm good for just a kiss, not legendary love. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? He's in the car at a bar, churning his love with an impure drug. He's in the past, seemingly lost forever. He worked hard at being good, but his basic soul was stained, not pure. And when he took his bow, no audience was clapping. Legendary hearts tear us all apart, make our emotions bleed,
Automatic doing Lou's New Sensations, which was also kind of a hit. Some people thought that was a sellout song. I mean, Lou Reed wouldn't know how to sell out if you put a gun to his head. There's just no way he knew anything about that. He would go like, oh, you think that? Well, let's do another Metal Machine music. Let's do The Raven. That's what we'll do. I ran into this band at a school fair where my son works. And I believe one of their mothers has another kid that goes to this school. So I don't know, we just started talking, me and the mother, and she said, yeah, my daughter's in a band, and I said Automatic, and I hadn't heard them. But I just said, do you think if they like Lou Reed? Because I really wanted this album to have an unknown band. Because Lou was all about trying to find unknown bands and then help champion them. Because, he knew what it was like to start the Velvet, and everybody's like, forget it. We don't want to hear them. So he would have wanted me to put somebody on this record that was basically unknown. And it's three women. I thought he was all about equality in the sexes, Lou. I mean, that was part of his biggest thing in music. And I thought okay, let's put a band nobody knows about instead of some of the other bands I was talking to, that sell zillions of records, because that's what Lou would want. A lot of times in my life, I'll ask myself, what would Lou do? Because, he's kind of a voice from beyond to me in terms of decisions. It's hard to describe, but I trust him. And he would go no, get a band nobody knows about, because they'll go who's that? And then when they hear it, they'll probably dig it, because it's very different than everything else on here. It's kind of electronic. I went to see him live, and they're a great live band. So now they just have to learn this song and play it in public, I told them. Roseanne Cash doing musician was something that had to be. Her and Lou were friends. It's almost like the real artists are all friends in New York, because they have to stick together. And so he used to talk about her. I've always been a fan of her. She's made some incredible records over the years. I mean, she was Nashville for a while, but she was never like a country singer. She was beyond that to me, just the things she chose to sing about. So I thought, like, well, I'll call up her manager and see if she wants to do it. And I'd hoped she would do something from Magic and Loss, because in some ways that was Lou's like final Lou Reed record, let's say, because The Raven was after that. And then we did the live record Animal Serenade, and he did the Hudson River Meditations album, which was electronic. So Magic and Loss was a record Lou wrote to talk about dying and how to get through that if you're still alive, or maybe how to get through it if you're dead. And those songs, two of his friends, Rotten Rita, who was a factory woman, and Doc Palmas had died, and he just, he was just consumed with losing friends and how to give something beyond the sadness. And I thought, what a great way to end this record. I really wanted a Magic and Loss, because that record I don't think ever really got heard like it should. It was after New York, and it was a downer. In fact, we taped a song from it, Power and the Glory, on the Today Show. And the way Lou did the Today Show, he taped his song. So he did it after the live version, because he would stay up all night because he didn't want to go to sleep, because then he'd sound bad when he woke up. And so he taped the song, and they were going to use it the next day. And in the band at that time was this singer that we both loved named Jimmy Scott. He's a very eccentric jazz singer that is different. Lou loved him. He just took him on tour in the band. So when Lou taped Power and the Glory from Magic and Loss on the Today Show with Jimmy Scott in the audience, I was going like, this is a song about dying, and you have Jimmy Scott, who has this kind of different visual presence. I thought, like, boy, this might not go over. And so that afternoon they called me and said, we're not going to use that song tomorrow. I go like, you can't do that. And they go, well, it's our show. We can do whatever you want. I said, yeah, but it's wrong. You can't do that to the artist. He came, taped it. You guys listened to the song before he did it. You knew the lyrics. Jimmy Scott's not a freak. He said, yeah, but, death and that doesn't go over at 8 a.m. And I go like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So I got in an argument with him. I never had another artist on the Today Show. Let's just put it that way. That was it. But, I want to get that tape someday and do something with it. Oh, my God. It was like, listen to the Power and the Glory. It is out there. And, I had a really good friend die right around that time, one of my best friends. And Lou, like, this album was a tonic for people who were going through that kind of loss. And he just said, Billy, Magic and Loss, just don't forget it. You lose something, but there's magic in it too. And it really helped me at the time. But I think I got to get that song on TV somewhere someday. And that was the song that Roseanne picked. And I thought, she knows. And, it's at the end, and some artists would go like, I don't want to be at the end of the record. She didn't say that. But I know I've had other artists say, I want to be up here and first or whatever. But I thought, like, you can't follow that on a record like this. Really and truly. I mean, it's, it's about the end or the beginning.
Magician, take me upon your wings and gently roll the clouds away. I'm sorry, so sorry, I have no incantations, only words to help sweep me away.
you know, Lou had me do this. I felt his spirit going like, Billy, come on, what are we doing here? And, you know, you can reissue all of his records you want, but I thought like, what will get Lou Reed's name and music out a little bit that's not his records? And I thought like tribute records. You know, I've made enough to know that they're not like monster sellers, but also made enough to know like with Rocky Erickson, we got him out of a mental hospital and he started working again from that tribute record. Skip Spence died the day before his record came out, but he knew it'd come out and he was happy. You know, he went to the next life knowing that people hadn't forgotten about him. Doug Somm is, you know, he never dies. He's just around everywhere in his crazy spirit. You know, you do these things because I really think it adds further life to the people you do them for. And it's such great music, and you have to get their music heard sometimes in new ways, which is done by other people. And it kind of works. I mean, the people that need to hear these records, hear them. And that's the way I look at it. I never get upset like, oh, it's not selling, or, you know, Rolling Stone didn't review it. I'm old enough to know that acceptance is the key to 99.9% of being happy. And you make them, and you have a guy like Matt let me make them and do what I want. And I go like, man, that's high cotton. That's as good as it gets. What can I say?
Inside I'm young and pretty, too many things unfinished, my very breath taken away.
Hello, this is Matt from Light in the Attic. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Liner Notes. Power of the Heart, a tribute to Lou Reed, is available on vinyl and CD at all fine record stores around the globe, as well as your favorite streaming service. Also available are the releases Words and Music, May 1965, and Hudson River Wind Meditations from the Lou Reed Archives series. A big thank you to Bill Bentley, Graham Gibson, and all the incredible artists who paid tribute to Lou Reed, and thank you for listening. Liner Notes is a co-production of Light in the Attic and Ruinous Media. This and all episodes of Light in the Attic's Liner Notes are available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more info, visit lightintheattic.net.
I want some magic to sweep me away. I want some magic to sweep me away. Visit on this starlit night, place the stars, the moon, the light, the sun is gone. Fly me through the storm and wake up in the calm. I fly right through the storm and wake